live from our studios in New York. And Stephen A., what a difference 24 hours makes, just an hour makes, really. But when we were talking yesterday at this time, we thought the possibility of any games at any level being suspended were unlikely at best. When the news broke last night that Adam Silver said enough, we're not going to continue with the NBA for the unforeseeable future, you said what?
Well, first of all, I wasn't surprised, and I didn't think it was unlikely. Let me refresh everybody's memory in terms of my position. They initially elected or entertained the possibility of not playing in front of fans. You know, my position was the second one player test positive for the coronavirus, you're going to suspend the season because you have to. You know, they're out there playing ball against one another. They're sweating. The ball itself, as Matt Barnes said earlier today on First Take, is absolutely filthy. Your sweat, the dust or the dirt, you know, from the arena and what have you, the bouncing of the basketball, the accumulation of sweat from multiple bodies touching the basketball, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's a germaphobe's nightmare. And so the reality is that the minute Rudy Gobert had tested positive for the coronavirus, you knew that the NBA was going to act. And sure enough, they did, because in a matter of minutes, the season was suspended. You know, if you notice the reaction from Mark Cuban, he was shocked and almost at a loss for words initially. That tells you that Adam Silver in the league office didn't feel the need to consult any further with the owners. They had spoken to them early in the day. They were aware of their positions. Some owners would rather engage in delaying the season or postponing the season for 3 to 4 weeks, like Tillman Fertitta in Houston. Others were willing to sit up there and entertain the possibility of playing without the fans being present. But you knew that something drastic was going to occur the moment that a player tested positive. Obviously, we have one in Rudy Gobert. We've got another in Donovan Mitchell. I wouldn't be surprised at all if others ended up testing positive simply because of the interaction that the Utah Jazz and Rudy Gobert had with other teams, having played Toronto Monday, having played Boston before that, etc. You just see the handwriting on the wall, and this is clearly something that needed to be addressed.
Stephen A., I'm going to get your take on the NCAA's decision to suspend all sports activities in just a second, so please don't go anywhere. In the meantime, let's continue with the NBA. Ryan Smith, take it away.
Let's talk about that, because the NBA seemed to, Adrian Wojnarowski joining us now, spur a lot of what we've seen in the last 24 hours. I just have to ask you, I'd be remiss in not talking about this, because you have been reporting, you've been on the forefront of reporting of what's happening with the NBA. They're suspending the season right now. What's the latest?
Well, the NBA's Board of Governors has been on a call with the league office, with Adam Silver and top officials there. And I'm told that the owners as a group, you know, they have been encouraging of Adam Silver to essentially put a 30-day window here where at the end of that, the league could reassess where they are in trying to move forward with the season and use that as an evaluation period. But I'm told that the league will probably come out with a formal initial timetable here in the very near future.
Yeah, that could make it very interesting. I think there's a narrative out there that, hey, could it be 2 weeks? That's really more of what people talk about when they talk about the quarantine period. This could make it a little bit longer. Let me ask you, you've heard so much talk about Rudy Gobert, that test, that flashpoint, as Reese Davis talked about, of starting all of this now. Donovan Mitchell testing positive for the coronavirus. Is there a sense from the NBA that, hey, even though we've suspended the season, what do we need to do now to make sure everybody's safe, to make sure players are sort of in the right position?
Well, you're seeing a lot of testing going on around the league right now, and teams telling players, even though there is a break here and players may not be at their team's facilities here for at least maybe the next 2-3 days, don't leave town. Don't travel around. Try to stay close to home and try again to make sure that they can, you know, manage their players, their staff, coaches. You know, that's going on in the NBA G League as well. So there are a lot of people who potentially could have been exposed in any number of different ways in recent weeks, recent days. And so, you know, the league's goal, like I think the broader goal in this country is to try to contain and manage and identify those who may test positive for the coronavirus.
So many across the sports landscape trying to do just that. Now, one of the big pieces of news that came in this morning was Donovan Mitchell, all-star Utah Jazz, testing positive for the coronavirus. That's on the heels of Rudy Gobert testing positive yesterday. He actually took to Instagram just moments ago to say this. His quote, "I want to thank everyone for the outpouring of concern and support over the last 24 hours. I have gone through so many emotions since learning my diagnosis, mostly fear, anxiety, and embarrassment. The first and most important thing is I would like to publicly apologize to the people that I may have endangered. At the time, I had no idea I was even infected. I was careless and make no excuse. I hope my story serves as a warning and causes everyone to take this seriously. I will do whatever I can to support using my experience as a way to educate others and prevent the spread of this virus. I am under great care and will fully recover. Thank you again for all your support. I encourage everyone to take all of the steps to stay safe and healthy." All right, Sage, important development there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ryan. Stephen, I'm going to bring you in that statement by Rudy Gobert that stands out. One word in particular to me was embarrassment. And I think, first and foremost, we need to have empathy for what he's going through right now on many levels. But that word embarrassment, I assume, Stephen A., you tell me, that refers to the video that is circulating across the world of him, having fun, I guess, with the situation before he knew he was infected and touching the microphones and the recorders before all of this went to this level. What stands out to you?
That it's appropriate for him to be embarrassed, because he should be embarrassed. And our sympathy goes out to him. We wish him nothing but the best. We hope that he regains good health. There's no question about it. And I certainly would not accuse him of having malice intent. He clearly did not mean to harm or to hurt anybody. He's actually a very, very good guy. League-wide, you'll hear people speak about him in very glowing fashion in terms of his personality and his affable tendencies and what have you. But the reality is that he came across as incredibly insensitive, incredibly immature. And that's really what stands out in your mind at a time when we were talking about the coronavirus, where the momentum was escalating in terms of it entering the mind's eye and what have you, with media members in front of his face. He literally took his hands and touched the microphone and touched tape recorders and all of that stuff on purpose to dismiss the significance of what was being reported. Then, according to a report from Adrian Wojnarowski just earlier today, you had several people, upon learning of the diagnosis on the part of Donovan Mitchell that he had been infected. You had people talking about they felt a little resentment because he was in a locker room playing with other people's stuff. Again, dismissing the seriousness of this. The reason why he should be embarrassed is because the level of just immaturity or what have you, or insensitivity, that clearly was not something that was shared by others. You want to play around and just verbalize how dismissive you are about it, that's one thing. But to sit up there and be totally insensitive to the notion that you could potentially infect somebody else, other people didn't do that, so why the hell were you doing it? So when he goes on his Instagram and he says that he's embarrassed, we'll take him at his word. There's nothing in his character that says that he's not sincere about what he's saying, but nevertheless, it still doesn't disguise nor dissipate the level of immaturity and flat-out stupidity that he had engaged in, and nobody is going to ignore that for a long time to come, because that video is going to circulate and disseminate for some time.
For sure. I think invincibility is one way to possibly describe how Rudy and many people, I mean, including myself, but many of us feel invincible with this, or felt until now, because in the last 48 hours, a lot has changed. And most importantly, we take away from it, maybe, I hope my story serves as a warning and causes everyone to take this seriously. Set that aside, Stephen, I'd like to get your thoughts also on what the NCAA decided within the last hour to cease all sporting activities. Again, the headline right now for us as the basketball tournament was about to begin is that it will not be happening, men's or women's, in 2020. When you heard that, you said what?
Well, it's fine that they made the decision.